somehow, some way, all you crazy people have talked me into already looking at 2022 NFL best ball. I even did a draft the other day. I don't know what that says about me. Maybe more importantly, I don't know what that says about you guys, that this is something that you're interested in. But we're already deep into the weeds on 2022 best ball drafts. So I figured, why not? Why not? Bright and early. Let's get out ahead of these crazy ADPs and start talking about 2022. We're all already thinking about it. So there's no better time than the present to start drafting for 2022. Friday is draft day on Spike Week. So we're going to get a little bit crazy and start talking some 2022. Let's get it. All right, guys, it's time. We're here. If you're watching and you would like to join in the draft, I already hopped in to a $5. Make sure they do have slow drafts, so make sure you get into the fast draft. I am in the $5 underdog 2022 fast draft, as you can see here. So we'll see if we can get this thing filled. I will post it in the Discord right away. Need three more for $5 fast draft. We'll see if we can get 3 more people to join us here. 2 more people, so hopefully we can get this puppy filled. Okay, well, that was easy. You guys are crazy. You guys are just as crazy as me. Shout out IDP Army. I agree. Got the repping the Billikens today. Repping my slew Billikens. So we got the 102. Let's see who we all got in here. Obviously, Silas. We have Silas in the chat. Silas is in here. Eagles, of course. Shane, Flea. I believe AJ Burns. I believe I've seen you, Chase. So we got a lot of people in here. We got a lot of people maybe watching, hopefully watching. Otherwise, a lot of people from the community. I'm excited. I'm actually, look at that. You find out on a stream that you got your experience badge, Silas. That's sweet. I'm trying to get to the red one. I don't even know what the yeah, wow, Paul. I see you in like all the drafts of all the streamers because you're very smart because as Silas says, drafting with streamers is very plus EV. I know Paul takes advantage of that EV quite well. I see him on. Now here's my question. I'm really debating. I got 20 seconds left, obviously. Really debating whether CMC or Cooper Kupp is my 102. And because I'm a man, I'm a brand guy. I love CMC. But we're going to take Cooper Kupp. Let's have a little bit of fun here. I agree, I think, with the industry consensus that Jonathan Taylor is the 101. I personally think it's CMC or Cooper Kupp at 2, and then it's kind of open. It's kind of open after that, and we will definitely get into more of that 2022 stuff in the coming weeks. I want to see if I can. That looks terrible. This is a little better. You guys don't really need to see my ugly mug anyway, but this way we can see the screen a little bit better. Bernard, welcome. You're the 101. I watch most streams, just don't ever chat in. Thank you for popping in. Thank you for joining the draft. And of course, thank you for watching. If you guys have not already, which I'm sure most of you guys already have, if you can hit the like button, I'm trying to do a little more of my, promotion. Hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It would be very, very much appreciated. So I started on my 2022 rankings. And the one thing I will say about the like first round running back type of thing, you guys know me, I'm a wide receiver guy, and I really, really like these top end wide receivers this year, like for 2022. Obviously what Cooper Kupp did, we had Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. I still like Davante Adams kind of. I think if I was a betting man that Davante Adams is going to be playing with Aaron Rodgers in one way or another in 2022. That's kind of my current bet, right? I mean, it's not even February yet, but that's kind of my current stance on the situation. And so, no matter where they play, that means I'm going to like Davante Adams. A little lighter on, we see here, the top of the wide receiver pool. I'm a little lighter like on Debo, but I mean, I don't exactly have anything super negative to say about Debo. Love Diggs, love AJ Brown, still in on CD, DK Metcalf, Waddle, all these guys, I love all these kind of first few round wide receivers. The issue that I really, really started to find, and some of this will definitely change, right? We're going to get rookies put into the pool, rookie running backs put into the pool here. Obviously after the, before the NFL draft on Underdog, but like for the main drafts after the NFL draft, I'll obviously get rookie running backs, which is going to beef up the pool a little bit. And there are some decent drafts or backs in this draft class. However, at the top end right now, really the entire pool, but definitely at the top end right now, I find it to be incredibly weak. And so in particular on Underdog, I do think I'm going to, more than I probably normally would, prioritize a little bit of an early running back. However, soon, there we go. Rudman in the chat with soon on the pending the incoming new drafts with the rookies, soon to be rookies. So that was I'm definitely not done with like 2022 rankings. I am certainly not done with anything in terms of like a strategy or strong player takes at all for 2022. Nowhere near that. But the first thing that I have absolutely really started to feel strongly as I started to put together some basic early rankings is just how bad running back is, right? And so part of that means to me that the guys at the top, I want to prioritize, right? Obviously JT, CMC, Hurl just took Javonte Williams. I love Javonte Williams, even like the Swifts and Gibsons. And, part of it says I would like to prioritize those guys when we know how kind of weak running back is. On the flip side, we now have 20 round drafts, and the weakness at the top technically does mean that mid to late round guys are going to pop up. If the top is so weak, that means there's going to be running backs that come up. Can we necessarily predict at this stage, not even February, exactly who they're going to be? No, probably not. But in 20 rounds, we do get a few more, we do have a few more bullets in our chamber to take shots on these running backs. And you're going to get like kind of tons of shakeups and stuff. And you kind of, being wide receiver heavy will allow you to, now I say I want to be wide receiver heavy, but I'm taking Antonio Gibson. But that will allow me, as you guys probably know, for, quite a while now, like kind of anchor running back is very often my preferred strategy. I'm still in on Antonio Gibson. There's a lot of still concerns for sure about Antonio Gibson. Making a big bet on him, as a 2-3 turn pick this year will definitely, you're going to need JD McKissic to be gone, and you're going to need, some help from the football team, big time. McKissic needs to be gone, so he needs to take on some more responsibility in the passing game. I think I'm going to take CD here. Yeah. We'll talk about CD in a second too. With Gibson though, I do think at this current cost, I'm going to be back on him again in 2022. We'll see what kind of, his value is definitely going to change a lot depending on what they do in the NFL draft, what they do in free agency. Obviously they need a quarterback upgrade. They need offensive line upgrades. So they really need to make a lot of investment in the offense in order for Antonio Gibson to really have that legendary upside. That's what we saw this year, right? Like he was valuable when he got that role. It's just that the team situation was so bad for him once Fitzpatrick got hurt and the offensive line was terrible and the team was just terrible. They quit basically at the end of the season. Yeah, I'll talk. So we'll pivot now to Steve says, I can't take CD over Mark Andrews. And I think that's an interesting discussion because I can, obviously, and did. I am probably going to be not fading Mark Andrews by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm Mark Andrews is a guy I'll probably, at this current cost, come into the year a little bit lighter on. He's a stud. There's no denying at all Mark Andrews' talent and upside and all of that. But we kind of see this every year, right? The Darren Waller breakout, Darren Waller monster season breakout, that tight end gets steamed all the way up. And now I know Waller got hurt, but he was not paying off before he got hurt. Part of why Mark Andrews was paying off is, you could argue part of it is Tyler Huntley. You know, he was having a good year with Lamar. He was not having the what he did to close the year. The other part is they were pass heavy. The Ravens were like a passing team in 2021. That's not what they want to be. Their defense completely collapsed, right? They had injuries galore. They were trotting out an XFL secondary and just injuries galore. They lost J.K. Dobbins. They lost Gus Edwards. They're running Latavius Murray in week 18 or whatever. You know, they they turned into a bad football team. You know, there's no Lamar. And so I think, so Andrew Steven says, I'm going to push back on this a little bit. Andrew's breakout was directly correlated to snap share, though, and you can point to Hurts leaving as the cause. And I don't think that that's entirely true. Andrew's breakout was also directly correlated with other factors that may not continue in 2022, like their pass rate, like the team situation, right? Like the broken running game. He's always been a great efficiency player, but now you're counting on all of those things on a team that wants to be a run first team. You're counting on the volume to continue at a higher cost. If he was back 4th, 5th round or whatever, absolutely. But now you're buying him at the 2-3 turn, and I'm not as excited about that. He'll be a guy for sure for me at this cost that, like, I don't want to have 0 in my portfolio by any stretch of the imagination, but I also want to be very cognizant of buying high when there are some definite regression variables. Right. This is what I'm saying. If you on a per snap basis, he's good. He has always been good. 2 years ago, that's what. So this is actually the exact point about Mark Andrews. We pegged him as a breakout the year, not this past year, the year before, because of the efficiency. The efficiency has always been there for Mark Andrews. That has never been a question. A little bit of drops 2 years ago. But efficiency, he's been an incredible efficiency player for his entire career, basically. The issue is the situation. Now, he broke out in 2021 for a monster year because the situation around him essentially crumbled. They had Devonta Freeman and Latavius Murray. They couldn't run the ball. The defense was horrible, which led to them having to throw more. And the offense just became more of a passing offense. If they revert back, you're still going to have the efficiency. But you need more than just the efficiency at the 2-3 turn. You need, borderline Travis Kelce-esque volume. And I talked a lot about that in the offseason, about like kind of betting against projectable volume. And at this new cost, that's definitely a concern for me with Andrews. We definitely have a wide receiver room here, I see, as you see at the top of the let me adjust this really quick. At the top of the board, Lockett. Lockett is definitely very concerning with I can't believe I'm going to take another running back here, I think. You want to talk about, actually, I think I have Jacobs ahead of ETN, but I'm going to take ETN here just because for the brand. Exactly, Silas. I am high T. Good point. Hurst was gone 2 years ago. Now I'm about to just go with this crazy running back draft because I hate you guys. You guys cannot do this to me. but we're going to do it. Here we go, baby. High tea season. So we start Antonio Gibson, we start Cooper Kupp, Antonio Gibson, CeeDee Lamb, Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs. It's really funny that in the first 2022 draft, I'll do a guy that I made a lot of jokes about, Josh Jacobs, is a guy that I draft in the running back dead zone. But actually kind of, and Josh Jacobs is a very funny one to me, where the market is like kind of, back out on him, if you will. And I think we saw a lot of things. If the Raiders situation can improve, they started to finally use him in the passing game, which has been a concern for such a long period of time with Josh Jacobs down the stretch, getting used in the passing game. And if the Raiders offense can take a step, the Henry Ruggs thing hurt their entire offense. Good question. So I could have taken Amari Cooper over one of those running backs. And to answer the question, Silas asks, are you stacking less in non-tournament drafts? I wouldn't say stacking less, but I'm definitely not, totally going out of my way, particularly early in drafts in these non-tournaments. The tournament thing aspect, obviously, with the, meme 3 uncorrelated DFS tournaments at the end in order to try to take down one of, BBM 3 or whatever that we end up getting. The stacking becomes so much more important because you're going to need that, the correlated upside on those weeks to beat large amounts of people, not even just large amounts of people, right? But large amounts of unbelievable teams. Look at all the teams that made it to the final of BBM2. They're all so good. So that stacking is extremely important. I am not, avoiding it, but I'm not forcing it either. And I'm at this stage, I haven't developed all of my thoughts on wide receiver for sure. I've been a little bit more looking at running backs, which is weird, but I'm so on Amari. Partly, I do think that Gallup. I think Gallup might come back after the ACL tear on like a 1-year sort of prove it deal. I'm not sure that someone in free agency after a totally injury riddled, right? He was hurt before the ACL. He didn't really do anything to earn much of a contract throughout the entire year. And so I think Gallup, that's where I'm leaning right now, is that Gallup might come back. And so in the exact same situation, Amari is fine. Amari is definitely fine. I'm going to have for sure Amari in my portfolio, but I still prefer CeeDee. Call me maybe just Charlie Brown, Lucy with the football with CeeDee Lamb, because they clearly showed no interest in prioritizing him like we see teams like the Bengals do with Jamar Chase. But maybe Kellen Moore is gone. Maybe we get a new OC that does prioritize CeeDee. Maybe CeeDee just kind of, Amari's getting older, breaking down, hasn't been super productive. CeeDee is pretty much always productive when they get him the football. I just want to be in on CeeDee Lamb basically, and I'm so on Amari Cooper. I haven't gotten a chance to look as much as I want to into wide receiver free agency. So that's definitely something. We're gonna be doing a lot of shows and stuff over the course of this offseason with NFL stuff. Like, I know that it's the offseason. We're about to hit the offseason in a few weeks, but there's a lot of that stuff I think that'll be fun to talk through. Free agency, obviously the drafts and prospect profiles and fits and coordinator changes and all those different things that we'll really want to dive into. I'm very fascinated. The Allen Robinson thing, I think, is the most fascinating wide receiver situation in terms of free agency, just because of what happened to him this year. I see all sides with the Allen Robinson situation, it being the Bears were just a stone cold disaster. I see arguments for him simply regressing this year, and maybe it's kind of over for Allen Robinson. But I also see, maybe gets to a new place and kind of turns back the clock a little bit here. And so he's a fascinating one for me. And we'll have definitely Will Fuller, right? Michael Gallup, obviously. We'll have tons of those guys to discuss. Yeah, Amari was definitely used as the one at the end of the year. Like I was kind of talking about it. Troy Aikman kind of made it famous, right? That here we go. You guys are going to laugh now. I'm going to do a 4 running back team with my guy Devin Singletary. So no more running backs for me. No more running backs for the rest of this draft. I don't have to talk about Darrington Evans on the first stream because I've turned full robust bro, full RB bro. Also because I'm going to queue up Ayuk. I am going to queue up Robert Woods. I'm not going to queue up Odell. Ooh. What just happened with... I want to take Robert Woods. Fingers. Just like removed him from my screen. Yeah, great question. What are your bye weeks looking like? That is an excellent question. We need the schedule already. We need to be discussing bye weeks. So we'll hit this one before I want to talk about because he'll be gone now before he gets back to me. But I almost took Jerry Jeudy, but we'll talk about that one. I'm sure we will talk about the Broncos far too much. But Steven says Pep Hamilton to the Bears is pretty interesting. Maybe there's hope for Fields. Yeah, I totally agree. I'm very excited about Pep and Fields and the Bears situation. You know, I think A-Rob will be gone, but I think they will prioritize. I think they will prioritize their offense here in the offseason and building around Fields. Mooney really I thought Mooney looked great this year and took a big step. Dave Montgomery is a fine running back. Cole Kmet obviously is the tight end of the future, and I think he can play. And so they just need to get some, a couple more weapons on offense and beef up the offensive line. And they have a good, Pep has been awesome. Pep has been awesome. Taking some of these young quarterbacks, Herbert and Davis Mills to really early in their careers, really improve. And so, I'm bullish on the Bears. Again, same thing. I'm going to be Charlie Brown, Lucy with the football in 2022 on Justin Fields and the Bears probably. And I'm ready to be hurt again. Yeah, Mooney went. I like Mooney. Mooney is a guy, though, that I am a little concerned with, like what happens in free agency, because like Silas says here, like I would love to see Mike Williams go to the Bears, and that would be really, really interesting. Mike Williams is such a unique player. Fields and Dalton and crew did not force the ball to Allen Robinson, and Mike Williams is a guy that Justin Herbert frequently talked about. There's a quote that Ben Gretsch always reminds me of. He brought it up a few times this year when we did our Sunday morning DFS shows on Roto-Grinders, that Justin Herbert had a quote that was like, I have to make sure to remind myself to just throw the ball to Mike Williams sometimes, even when he's not open, because Mike Williams really doesn't get separation. That's not his game. I don't want to compare it I don't want to compare him to like a DeAndre Hopkins, because he's not as good as obviously as DeAndre Hopkins, but sort of that style of player. He's not like this crazy short to intermediate route runner. You kind of got to just trust him, right? And trust him in the back shoulder game. Trust him when he's covered down the field to just go make plays for you and that kind of thing. And, we saw what happens when Herbert just kind of force-fed it to Mike Williams. And so, in turn, it's a weird, funny fit, because Fields has been, so far, a little bit more of a see-it thrower type of a guy. And Mike Williams is never a see-it wide receiver, really. He's a trust-him type of wide receiver, and he's very good at that. But it's an interesting fit. But I would like, in terms of the explosiveness of the offense and the upside of the offense, yeah, I mean, Fields, Mooney, and Fields, Mooney, and Mike Williams would be pretty fun. I'm interested to see. I mean, Mike Williams, you would have to think, would want to come back to the Chargers, and the Chargers would probably want Mike Williams back money obviously is part of it, but I'm very interested to see what happens with Mike Williams. I do want to start looking here a little bit at the queue. You see Tom Brady at the top here, and that is a guy that I am. There's A-Rob. That's really funny. And I need to unclick running back, because running back is done for me. The Eagles takes. We'll just bounce around to whoever people pick. Eagles takes Miles Sanders. I really actually like Miles Sanders at this cost. People are totally out on him, and it's really, he got banged up again, which is definitely part of the concern. But that son of a Silas. Silas. That is just absolutely unnecessary. All right, I'm going to take Courtland Sutton. We're going to bet on an Aaron Rodgers. We're going to bet on an Aaron Rodgers. We're just going to take this entire turn here and bet on an Aaron Rodgers to Denver situation. Yeah, Silas says, bring on the pain. If you're listening to the audio, which I imagine a draft stream audio has to be a little bit painful, but thank you for listening. If you're listening, Silas says, bring on the pain, because he is picking right in front of me at the 8-9 turn, and I was ready to take Trey Lance, and he took Trey Lance. And he said he wanted Hurts, and Hurts went. So totally get it. Paul says, yeah. The first Paul, I was inverted on underdog, said, now you know how it feels, Eric, because in my first 2022 draft that I did the other day, Paul was in it, and I sniped him on Trey Lance. So we are through 8.5 rounds. I'm through 9 rounds. And if you are listening on the audio, I can pull up the board here really quickly. And I, from the 102, went Cooper Kupp, Antonio Gibson, CeeDee Lamb, Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs, Devin Singletary. So I went the full robust RB bro strat here, and I am going to load up on wide receivers and only take those 4 running backs after Devin Singletary. It went to Robert Woods in the 7th round, who I'm really excited about. Robert Woods at this cost, and I just now realized that I probably should have taken Stafford there, but that's okay. I should have taken Stafford there over Sutton and Fant, but that's all right. I can stack the Rams offense without Stafford. Anyway, took Robert Woods in the 7th round. I think Robert Woods is going to come back to the Rams and be the same old Robert Woods. And maybe even steal a little bit. I think he's a little bit more of a target earner. This sounds crazy than Odell. Odell's been freaking awesome, by the way, for the Rams. But I don't think they're going to bring Odell back when Woods comes back. And I think Woods steps right back in. And like we were taking Kupp and Woods around the same range, I think I was taking Kupp over Woods. So I guess shout out to me, not like, whatever. But, the market was valuing Kupp and Woods like really similarly last year. And now Woods is going in the 7th and Cooper Kupp's a, first round pick. Of course, Kupp has earned that. And I do agree that Woods should fall a little bit, but to this extent down to the 7th, I think is mostly just being scared of uncertainty. So take Robert Woods in the 7th and then come back at the 8-9 turn. Like I said, I do want to bet on this Aaron Rodgers to Denver situation. And so that's something that I'm into. That's something that I think has a fairly strong likelihood of happening. And even if it doesn't, the thing about the Denver situation is they have outs to plenty of other quarterback upgrades, right? Russ could go there. Deshaun Watson could come back and go there. There's plenty of ways for this quarterback situation to get better. So just in general, I like these Broncos guys. I meant to talk about it earlier with Jerry Jeudy. I'm definitely very bullish on Jerry Jeudy. I do think we've seen some rumors floated that Jeudy could be the guy that actually gets shipped out of there for Devontae and Aaron Rodgers in a trade. So Silas says also Kirk Cousins Some people have mentioned like people might be interested in Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr would be an upgrade for the Broncos. Like, I'm not even a big Derek Carr like truther or anything like that, but I think that he would absolutely be an upgrade for that offense. And so I think there's just a lot of paths to these really, really talented Broncos, all of the skill players, not even just the receivers, Javonte as well. There's a path to all of those guys being just super undervalued. And I'm still totally buying Courtland Sutton as a football player. I'm absolutely buying Noah Fant as a football player. So I guess I should pull up the board and see. God damn it. I keep accidentally. I want to click off of running back, and I keep clicking onto running back every time. There we go. I love that Brady is falling here because if you hadn't seen, I posted a tweet earlier today, about how the Brady and Gronk ADPs are pretty interesting because, here we go. Quarterback is getting not great here. Nah, I'm okay with these quarterbacks. Let's see. So top of the board, it's like Hunter Henry, Tyler Higbee. I think I'm going to buy back on DJ Chark here. Going to buy back on DJ Chark. We did the Visca thing. Obviously, in the offseason, and Marvin Jones is getting older. Chark is going to come back from an injury, and, I'm not totally sold on DJ Chark as like a monster target hog, but all the opportunity in the world exists for him. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna pass on quarterback again here, and either go to Higbee, Kmet. Not too interested in Logan Thomas. Not super Yeah, I gotta take Will Fuller. I just can't imagine that Will Fuller doesn't end up somewhere where the upside of him in the 11th round isn't worth it. Maybe I am totally wrong. We weren't talking about a devastating leg injury. We were talking about a finger injury, and wasted his entire season away in Miami. I imagine he tries to go somewhere else to get a fresh start. I imagine he's possibly looking at Silas. We have triggered Silas in the chat because apparently he was looking for Will Fuller there. Jameson says the wide receiver 1 in the 11th. Again, I've mentioned this on multiple players, right? On the Bears and on Antonio Gibson and on CeeDee Lamb. I'm ready to be heard again on Will Fuller. Call me crazy. It's super early. We'll see what happens, right? Where he ends up. He could end up somewhere that some of our excitement is lessened. But I mean, man, Will Fuller in the 11th round, wherever he goes, like, I'm not even sure how much this, unless he goes and plays somewhere with, I don't know. I'm trying to even think of like a quarterback or something that would be truly awful for him. You'd have to go and play with like the Bears of last year or something like that. For like, he could go back to the Texans, and I think we would be fine with Davis Mills, right? I just think that there's not really a situation where we're not going to feel good about Will Fuller at this ADP. It's just uncertainty and a down year that obviously led to this current cost. Eagles joins the chat. Eagles is, as I mentioned earlier, in this draft, and he said, I didn't even realize you had a live stream of this draft, and I am here for the sniping. Now, this is a sniper's dream in this draft. Silas has done it to me. I have done it to Silas. Somebody else was in here mentioning Silas got sniped on Hurts. Trying to scroll the chat, and I don't know. There was something else. Couple other points, because this was around the the spot that Kadarius Toney goes a little bit ago. Steven says Toney will probably be awesome for the 5 games he plays in. I think Toney is a pretty decent pick. We were, anybody that was not interested in Toney in the 17th, 18th round last year, I think was proven fairly clearly wrong. That he definitely has the ability to be a good fantasy contributor when he's on the field. Now, as Steven says, there are issues about him being on the field. He was hurt in college. He's hurt in the NFL frequently. He's kind of maybe a crazy person, right? He got ejected from a game. There are maybe some issues with Kadarius Toney. However, as a fantasy asset, even in the totally dysfunctional New York Giants situation of last year, he was contributing when he was on the field. And so I like him as well in that area of the draft. What do you think of Albert Abui Kunum? I forget Alberto as a tight end 3 in the last round. Seems like he has real upside with injury or trade. 100%. Totally agree. Love Alberto as a late round tight end. He could get traded. He could just be useful as a tight end 2, even with Fant, if they get the quarterback upgrade. And if Fant goes down, he's a tight end 1. Almost no matter of who's at quarterback, right? So I think he's very interesting. Toney was my number 1 exposure last year, so that felt so good / bad. Yeah, the highs were really high. Having Toney as your highest owned player, the highs were really, really high. You felt, after the one game you put up 10 catches for 100-something yards and a touchdown, you're like, it's euphoria. You feel like you've hit the lottery, and then you get the bad side of Kadarius Toney. Boy, we have hit a quarterback. Absolutely hilarious. Russell Gage. We're going to have some conversations about Russell Gage and Robbie. Damn it. Silas. So if you've missed it, Silas has already started doing some awesome content for Spike Week. I'm very excited for all the work that he is going to end up doing. So you know what? I just took Tom Brady. Hold on, I got to time out somebody. Now, I think I might take Tannehill, actually. Tannehill or Tua. Let me just queue up some guys. Tannehill, Tua. Logan Thomas is actually kind of interesting this deep into the draft. I took Brady. Let's do that. Let's do Logan Thomas. In the 13th round, I feel okay with Logan Thomas. Let's look at tight end really quick. So there's Uzoma in this breakout. Robert Tonyan, Dan Arnold, Gerald Everett, Evan Ingram, Jared Cook, Brevin Jordan, Adam Troutman, Njoku, Jonnu. There's Alberto, as Steven brought up. Tight end is pretty brutal as usual as we get into the later rounds. And so I think my personal take is once Logan Thomas gets back healthy, which, I guess is the concern coming off the ACL or whatever he had. Once Logan Thomas gets healthy, that I'm not really concerned about him getting back his role. Now, his role was what propelled him into the 8th or 9th round or whatever it was in drafts last year. And he was a little bit overdrafted because you were just counting on this guy playing 100% of snaps and not really earning that many targets in a sketchy situation. Now in the 13th round, I feel pretty good about buying back on someone like Logan Thomas. Silas says, Evan Ingram is such an interesting free agent candidate. That is a really good point. Evan Ingram is one of those guys that, we have been like almost like this is probably a bad comp, but it's fresh. It's top of mind because we were just talking about him. It's almost like the Michael Gallup thing at tight end. Obviously the path that got them to disappointment is very, very different. However, Ingram has just been the guy we think we know is talented. He's certainly athletic. I don't know if he's a talented football player, but we know he's athletic. Measurables, athleticism. He absolutely has in spades. So we've been waiting for him to do something on the football field for a long time. Now, is the disappointment of Evan Ingram because of the Giants' stench, because of Daniel Jones, terrible offense, Jason Garrett, Joe Judge, right? The list goes on. The Giants have been a disaster the entire time that Evan Ingram has been there. Is it that? And he hasn't helped himself. He still could have played better. But is it Evan Ingram that is the problem? And as Silas says, he goes somewhere in free agency and he's, shocker, still Evan Ingram and not doing anything? Or is it we have a pretty talented football player that maybe goes to a situation, right, where what if he got the Zach Ertz volume in Arizona, right? Evan Ingram goes to Arizona and you put him into Zach Ertz's role, right? Like, would you want him where he's going right now? I mean, I would. I would like to buy that shot. I'm just throwing out a range. I'm not saying I'm expecting him to go to Arizona, but I think it's a very interesting situation because it's a guy we believe to be talented. Same thing. We believe Michael Gallup to be talented for sure. I think he's pretty much proven he's talented, but he just hasn't quite done it. We just can't get over the hump with some of these guys. Man, how the mighty have fallen with Laviska. Do you guys think so? Antonio Brown, if you're not watching on YouTube, Antonio Brown is at the top of the queue here. Do you guys think Antonio Brown plays in the NFL? In the chat, do you think Antonio Brown plays in the NFL in 2022? Obviously not going to play with the Bucs, but do you think somebody picks up Antonio Brown? So to this point, my 14th round pick, and again, if you're not watching, or even if you are watching, Underdog has gone to 20 round drafts here. And so I'm about to approach the 14-11. It's the 11th pick of the 14th round. I have one quarterback, Tom Brady. I was really, really hoping that you guys would not scoop up all these quarterbacks that just went. So that is not great. The top quarterbacks left on the board are Carson Wentz, who I don't even know is going to be a starting quarterback next year, Matt Ryan, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Daniel Jones, Jameis Winston, Jimmy G. It gets real. It's bad. It's really bad. But I got some options. I have 9 seconds left on the clock. I am going to take Donovan Peoples-Jones. Still buying the Donovan Peoples-Jones talent for sure. And there's a couple other wide receivers I like here. Yeah, in 5. I asked about 2022, but Isaiah McKenzie goes. We'll talk about Isaiah McKenzie in a second. But Eagle says the Chiefs will take a shot on Antonio Brown in 5 years, just like they did with Josh Gordon. So I took Donovan Peoples-Jones and Sterling Shepard. Sterling Shepard is just a good football player. And I just want to, we're so far out from I also want to look up Sterling Shepard signed a 4-year, $41 million. So he is not a free agent. Okay, cool. Sterling Shepard, I just think, is a fairly good football player. He was a good pick last year in basically the same range, maybe a little bit higher. And so when you go super robust running back, right, I'm just piling up wide receivers. We're just piling up wide receivers. And so just give me the guy that I know. I mean, he's going to play when if he's healthy. The Giants situation is a little bit concerning for sure. But as Silas says in the chat, he just needs to stay healthy. If Sterling Shepard stays healthy, he exceeds a 15th round draft pick. Facts. Just point blank period. Point blank period. I know some very smart Underdog drafters were taking a lot of Sterling Shepard last year, and more than I was. And I think he was a total smash, like an absolute smash, obviously until he got hurt. So yeah, Shepard has an Achilles. I've stopped, honest to God, I'm not saying this is right. I have stopped worrying about basically any injury that we've thought was like a serious issue. ACL, these guys are back in 6 months. Cam Akers tore his Achilles in the summer. He's going to play like every snap like next week in the conference championship. I'm not saying that the Achilles doesn't matter, because it does, but like, I don't know, man. Cam Akers looks totally fine to me. And he's not very far removed from tearing his Achilles. So I'm just, you're going to miss sometimes. Sometimes it is going to be an injury that is long-term an issue for these guys. Maybe it is for Shepard, but like, I don't know. You tell me how to figure it out, because Cam Akers just played like 80% of snaps in a playoff game, like 6 months off of an Achilles tear. It's wild stuff. But yeah, roll the dice with Daniel Jones. Let's go. Brian Daboll is what Steven is mentioning. And just scrolling back through the chat. Sorry. I think Daboll is probably going to Miami, is what is the latest I'm hearing. I can't imagine he wants to take the Giants job. I guess, there's work. There are definitely work. The Giants, it doesn't maybe seem like it, but the Giants have Saquon Barkley, Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, Kadarius Toney. There's talent on this offense. It wasn't that long ago that this was a competent team. They've obviously utterly collapsed, but I don't know if anybody can turn Daniel Jones and that crew around. Maybe they pick up a tight end or something, which is a segue into Eagles says the tight end free agents: Gesicki, Schultz, Gronk, and Njoku, Ertz, Everett, Ingram, Mo Alley, and Njoku. Very interesting as last round. Oh, and Njoku and Mo Alley are interesting. Yeah, Mo Alley can play, man. I'll never forget the week this year Mo Alley had 2 touchdowns. As my second highest owned tight end. That was a waste of a pick. But that's a fun list. Gesicki, so take Mike Gesicki and put him in Evan Ingram's role. Shit, take Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz can play. Put him in Evan Ingram's role or Njoku, and get Daboll in with the Giants. And I think he can produce a quality offense and invest draft picks and such in your offensive line. But I think he's going to go to Miami. I think Daboll will straight wreck fools in Miami with Tua and Waddle and a big O-line investment. Because I think they'll get more weapons too. Which, speaking of the Dolphins, the unfortunate thing about these super, super early 2022 drafts is Duke Johnson is not in the player pool. I was looking for him when I was doing my rankings to see where his ADP was. Silas says the Giants want Flores, which I think that's fine too, in terms of turning the team around. Flores is a good coach. Eric asks, are you hopping in another draft or capping it at this one? I think I'm going to have to cap it at this one. We're about 50 minutes in and still got a few more rounds to go. Silas, I hope you have enjoyed your time doing work for Spike Week, because it's about to come to an end. Now I'm just going to tilt draft 2 quarterbacks. Baker. Can't believe I have to take Baker freaking Mayfield because you just took Daniel Jones for me. Silas. So if you're listening on the audio, you can sense the frustration in my voice, and it is because I lost out on Daniel Jones, which what a sick thing to be upset about on the 28th of January. All right. God, Brian Edwards is so bad at football, but actually, here we go. We're buying more. We're buying more Broncos. If Rodgers goes to Denver, late round KJ Hamler is going to be very fun. I'm not sure exactly how their skill guy stuff will break out. Obviously, they re-signed. They have everybody coming back with Sutton, Judy, and Tim Patrick. But I mean, KJ Hamler could absolutely smash if they get Rodgers, or if they get Russ, right? Or if they get Deshaun Watson. As Silas says, Spike Weeks, KJ Hamler season would be Spike Week time. And then Eagles, one of the best ball players on the planet, one of the probably the biggest best ball grinder that exists on the planet, gives out some really good advice. His best ball advice, his best ball advice over the last 4 years is just don't draft New York Giants. Take them out of the player pool, don't worry about it, and you're good. Pretty good advice. Pretty good advice. So we got 16 picks. I definitely need to get one of these quarterbacks. And I think Huntley is a pretty interesting super late round, early 2022 quarterback. With so many teams being quarterback needy, I think Huntley definitely proved. Actually like Trubisky as well to get a starting job next year. I think Trubisky probably gets a starting job next year. We were talking about Brian Daboll. Something I was thinking about Brian Daboll, what the Panthers should have done. This triggers me. When I start to think about these kinds of things and you think about how good certain situations could be for combinations of players, coaches, whatever. If the Panthers had just fired Matt Rule, and if they wanted to fire Joe Brady, whatever, that's fine. But if they had also just fired Matt Rule, threw the freaking Brinks truck at Brian Daboll, and then got a quarterback, I legitimately believe they could have brought, if they hired Brian Daboll, they could legitimately have brought in Mitch Trubisky, who, if you didn't know, Mitch was the backup quarterback for the Bills this year. And what is interesting about some league sentiment is that Mitch is like a lock to be a starter. Someone's going to pay Mitch to be their starter this coming year, because everybody believes that Matt Nagy and the Bears were so incompetent that it wasn't Mitch's fault, that Mitch can actually play. And Daboll kind of would speak to that, like Daboll would back that up. So anyway, if the Panthers throw the bank at Daboll with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson and Christian McCaffrey and Terrace Marshall, and they get Mitch Trubisky for definitely he would be affordable, and then invest everything in the offensive line. The defense is already good. Like, the defense is legit good. And then you just invest you don't have to get any skill guys. You have good skill guys. And you get a cheap quarterback who has played with this coach. This, the best offensive coordinator in the league, the best offensive mind in the league that turned Josh Allen into a superstar, who has worked with this guy. And then you just, their offensive line was just dreadful. So you just invest your draft picks, you invest free agency. Obviously you sign free agents on the offensive line. I was just like dreaming about this scenario. And instead, they keep Matt Rule. And they sign, oh my God, why am I blanking on Panthers offensive coordinator, Ben McAdoo. They keep Matt Rule and they add Ben McAdoo as the offensive coordinator. What are we doing? Okay. So I'm taking Davis Mills as my third quarterback. I have 9 wide receivers. I would probably, let me just take Mills. And then no more quarterbacks. I think I'm going to take a third tight end and then a 10th wide receiver. We'll see. Fant and Logan Thomas is probably fine. I'm going to look at wide receiver here. Oh, good Lord. Oh, Paris Campbell is my guy. It's Paris Campbell bounce back season. I took him in my first 2022 draft. Paris Campbell was like a guy we were taking. I know he got hurt, but Paris Campbell was like a guy we were taking pretty frequently in 18 round drafts last year, and now he's a 19th, 20th round pick in these. I think that's a little bit silly. I did want to double back. Steve says Deontay Harris had more fantasy points than Bryan Edwards and was 90th percentile in the NFL in air yards per snap, average yards after the catch, targets per route, and yards per route run. Round 20. Yeah. The issue with Deontay Harris is that Michael Thomas was out. And Michael Thomas is back. And Deontay Harris, I am not a Bryan Edwards guy. So let's just get that out of the way. Deontay Harris is 5'6", 170 pounds. And is, never ever going to be anything more than the third fiddle to Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. And now Sean Payton is gone. They are $70 million over the cap and have Taysom Hill as their quarterback. So, those data points are factual, and I'm not refuting them because they are factual. But Michael Thomas is about to be back, and the situation is only going to get worse for the Saints. So, I'm not personally super excited about Deontay Harris, although I totally understand it. He's an explosive player. He's a fun little player, like real life player. Had a couple good weeks this year. Looks like he's a restricted free agent. He's also a restricted free agent. So, I don't think Deontay Harris is better than Paris Campbell, and I will go to the grave with that. I do like, shout out Davis Mills. Davis Mills I was not a Davis Mills fan when he first started getting to play for the Texans. He looked really bad to me. And man, did he really start to kind of impress me over the course of the year? Is he like an elite NFL quarterback? No, of course not. But I think the Texans are very confident in keeping him as their starting quarterback next year. They're still going to be horrible. And so why not just keep Davis Mills as your starting NFL quarterback? Get another top 3 pick and see if he can keep progressing. Don't take this quarterback class is terrible in the NFL draft, so don't take one in this one. Just keep rebuilding the team and see what they got in him. They're going to be losing plenty. Davis Mills is going to have to throw plenty. I think he's going to be a viable late round quarterback. If you think Ian Book is the quarterback, then you don't want a single Saint on your team. If you think Ian Book is going to be the Saints quarterback, then you should not draft a single Saint. Because that's a disaster scenario for all of the Saints. Ethan says, do we know if tournaments will be 20 rounds as well? I cannot confirm this, but in the little conversation, I feel like since they've launched this and it's 20 rounds, I feel like I can say from the conversations that I had with some folks from Underdog that I do believe that this is what's going to happen. Yes, I do believe that they are going to move to 20 rounds. It doesn't mean that is for sure going to happen, but I think that is what is going to happen. But this is a lot of fun. I don't really like my team, to be totally honest with you. I did take Brady 53 picks after ADP, so that was pretty fun. Brady, for the audio versions, audio listeners, Brady, Baker Mayfield, Davis Mills at quarterback. Mind you, again, 20 rounds. Robust running back, 4 running back team. Antonio Gibson, Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs, and Devin Singletary. With Cooper Kupp, CeeDee Lamb, Robert Woods, Courtland Sutton, DJ Chark, Will Fuller, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Sterling Shepard, KJ Hamler, Paris Campbell, Noah Fant, and Logan Thomas at tight end. Did Tutu just go? Shane took Tutu from me. Shane took Tutu. Yeah, I have sort of mixed feelings on the 18 versus 20 round thing, Ethan. I think the variance of the 18 round thing is actually pretty good for tournaments, but obviously it's a little more fun to do 20 rounds and be able to kind of have those extra players. It can be obviously frustrating when you have a good team and you might lose a couple of guys and just be drawing dead. Just even though, like last year, you could have drafted JT, Kupp, Debo, Lenny, something like that, and still be drawing dead because you lost a couple of key guys to injury. And so I definitely see both sides of the situation. So I'm either going to go running back or wide receiver or tight end here. I'm not going to take – I might take Parham, though, because wide receiver is pretty bad. Yeah, let's go with a third tight end, and let's go Parham. We'll go Donald Parham. I've been fading Jared Cook since he was on the Rams. The Rams paid Jared Cook a whole boatload of money. I am, as you see from the St. Louis shirt, I am born and raised in St. Louis, and I am a big I was a diehard St. Louis Rams fan. The Jeff Fisher era signed Jared Cook to a monstrous contract, and he was one of the worst football players I've ever watched in my entire life. He'll make a couple of big plays here and there, but he's not interested in blocking anybody. He's not interested in going particularly hard in the pass game and making tough catches. And so I have been fading Jared Cook as he gets older every single year. And so why not invest in the guy who should hopefully take over a bigger role now that Jared Cook is a free agent. I can't imagine that the Chargers are going to bring Jared Cook back. They might bring somebody better than Parham in, but I can't imagine that they are going to bring Jared Cook back. So just to recap really quickly with some of these comments, AJ says this draft has been a lot of fun. Great way to start the 2022 best ball grind. I agree. That was fun. I don't like my team. Silas sniped me way too many times. You guys are too good at this. And so that was definitely not going to be my favorite team of the 2022 draft season, but it's fun to start dabbling. I think we had some fun conversation around a lot of different players. I think you guys brought up some really good points about different players, different teams, free agents, all that kind of thing. That's going to help us when, new contests are going to be launching very, very soon, right? With the rookies. Rudman was in, Nick Rudman, shout out Rudman, from Underdog was in the chat mentioning that the new contests with the rookies are going to be dropping very, very soon. So that's exciting. So hopefully this will help with just kind of getting our brains around 2022 for when those contests drop, because I think, people worry about drafting early, like as it relates to like Best Ball Mania, right? But like these, I think last year was called the War Room. Like these War Room contests come out and everybody's drafting in the same environment. There's no concern about drafting early, like, oh, is my guy going to get hurt? Because that's when everyone is drafting. It's like a pre-NFL draft contest. That's it. So we're all dealing with that. And so I want to do a bunch of those. And so this, hopefully, I'm sure if you're watching this, that's something that you're probably interested in too, because you're a sicko watching a 2022 draft on January 28th. But I think it's good to kind of get the brain flowing. It's already starting to think about 2022 and just all the different scenarios that we have to think about, all the different free agent destinations, the rookie prospects, and all of that. So that is going to do it for this draft stream. As always, we're back every Friday doing different forms of drafts, right? Did 2022 this week, did playoff best ball last week. we'll get into something new. Maybe we'll do some sophomores, juniors drafts. Maybe they'll have the war room, launched in a couple of weeks. Drafting's never going to stop on Fridays. We're going to keep Friday's always going to be a drafting day of different formats. Baseball's coming soon, right? NBA playoffs are coming soon. We'll have tons of different contests that we can dive into, but be back on Monday with Best Ball Lessons. Be back with a couple of new shows. Can't give it all away, but a couple of new shows next week. And then, of course, Best Ball Bros on Wednesday. Content keeps rolling. Thank you, guys. I'll see you guys next week. Have a good weekend. Later.